Hello and welcome to today's grammar lesson. Today we'll be talking about verbs, and this is grammar lesson 6. So let's get started with the pre-notes here. You want to set up your page the same way as you see it on the screen right now. So in the upper left, you're going to put the date, the day, the month, the year. Write the word grammar, followed by the word lesson and number 6. The date, grammar, and lesson number 6. After that, skip a space, put down the word verbs. Today we'll be talking about verbs. The abbreviation that we will use for a verb from here on out is in parentheses here, V period. And go ahead and put a colon there. We'll add in the definition here in just a minute. After that, skip another line. Write down this. Verbs will be. Go ahead and underline that. It'll be a heading. Put a colon after it. Verbs will be. On the very next line, write down these two words. Watch the formatting on my page. Over on the left-hand side, write the word action and underline it. And just past midway through the page, put linking and underline it. Action and linking. Skip a couple more lines, and on the third line down, put down this. Verb tense shows when. I went ahead and put tense in quotations here because that's specifically what we're talking about. Verb tense shows when. And underline that. Directly beneath that, on the very next line, write down these three words. Watch the formatting on the page. Over on the left-hand side, write down the word past and underline it. Right about in the middle, put down the word present and underline it. And over toward the right-hand side, the word future and underline it. Once again, verb tense shows when, and then put past, present, and future. I'm going to move my notes down a little bit here. I'll leave the last note at the top of the page. So underneath the subheadings of past, present, and future, we are going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the fifth line, put down the word or the words verb tips and underline that. Verb tips and underline that. Back on the left-hand margin again, we're going to have 4 of these. But careful on the spacing here, they're not all evenly spaced. For number 1, put down the words helping verbs. Helping verbs. For number 2, the same verb. If you notice here, I'm not putting a colon in here because we're going to finish this sentence. It's not going to be a list of things. Number 3, now careful here, beneath 2, I have left, beneath the number 2, I've left 2 lines blank, and then I put the number 3. And then I write these words. Every complete sentence will have a verb. Every complete sentence will have a verb. I'm going to move my notes to the top of the page. I'll leave the last note at the top. After that, I'm going to skip a line, and I'm going to put down the number 4 in the words action verbs. So after number 3, I skip a line, put down number 4, and write the words action verbs. Once we get to that point, we'll be done with the notes for the day. So let's go back to the beginning, and let's fill in the information. So let's start off with a definition here of what a verb is. So let's put down a word that shows action, a word that shows action, or links a subject A word that shows action or links a subject to a predicate. So a verb is a word that shows action or links a subject to a predicate. I've underlined or here and capitalized it because the beginning part of this definition most students know. It's the second part of this definition that a lot of students either didn't learn or have forgotten about. We'll get into that in just a second. So now we have verbs will be. So verbs can be two types of verbs. They can be action verbs and they can be linking verbs. Okay, they need to be one or the other in each sentence. The best way to show you what these are is to give you examples. So let me give you this sentence. Go ahead and copy it down with me. Tom hit me. And then copy down this one as well underneath linking. Tom is mean. So two sentences here. Tom hit me and Tom is mean. So what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to fill in the parts of speech underneath each of these sentences. Now we know that every sentence is going to have a verb. In this case, Tom hit me. Hit is an action verb. I can see it happen. While over here, is the verb, and it is linking. It is linking Tom to the predicate, which is mean. So I can also fill these in based off of previous notes. I know that Tom, the part of speech here, is a noun, and I know that me is a pronoun. If I wanted to be incredibly dorky about it, I could tell you that Tom is a proper noun, it's a concrete noun, and it's a singular noun. I could tell you that me is an object pronoun, first person. Over here, Tom is also a noun, and mean is an adjective modifying the noun Tom. Okay, so a verb can be action or a verb can be linking. Action verbs show action, while linking verbs usually tell us what the subject is or how the subject is. All right, so let's continue on here. Verbs also show when. All right, we call this verb tense. So for this lesson today, we're going to have a very simple version of verb tense. There are more verb tenses than what I'm going to show today, but this will get us started. So I moved the notes a little bit, left the last notes at the top of the page. Let me give you a few words here. Go ahead underneath present, write down the word stop. Write down the word jump. Eat. And drive. 4 words: stop, jump, eat, and drive, all underneath the present column. All of these are action verbs, and they're in the present tense. For example, I could say, today I stop going to school. Or today I jump the fence. Or today I eat lunch. Or today I drive the car. All of these have a past tense and a future tense. So stopped. So instead of today I stopped the car, I could say yesterday I stopped the car. Instead of today I jumped the fence, yesterday I jumped the fence. Same over here on the future. Tomorrow I will stop. And tomorrow I will jump. Now, if you notice here, in order to make these verbs past tense, all I had to do was add ed. When you do that, these are known as regular verbs. Okay, so if you take the present tense verb stop, and to make it past tense, you add ed, that means it's a regular verb. So let's take a look at these last two here, eat and drive. If today I eat, yesterday I ate. And tomorrow I will eat. And for drive, today I drive, yesterday I drove, and tomorrow I will drive. So we have something different going on here with these last two verbs. We don't just add an ed. We don't say eated, and we don't say drived. Instead, we have to change the spelling altogether. So these are called irregular verbs. Okay, regular and irregular verbs. You notice in the future tense, we use the present tense and add the helping verb will before it to help us establish the tense. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Let's look at the last tips here for the basic notes on verbs. So I'll put the last notes at the top of the page. And let's finish out this sentence. Helping verbs look like linking verbs. Helping verbs look like linking verbs, but cannot stand alone. So I'll give you an example here. He was eating an apple. He was eating an apple. In this sentence, our verb, although two words, we would treat it as one. Because I can't say he was an apple. This word was can't be a verb on its own. It's a helping verb. Now, if I said the sentence, he was sick, okay, was can stand on its own. He was sick. And in this case, it's a linking verb. Okay, let's go on to tip number 2. Tip number 2. The same verb can be action or linking depending on how it's used. Same verb can be action or linking depending on how it's used. Let me give you a perfect example of this. Tom smelled the roses, and Tom smells like roses. Actually, let's make it exactly like the first sentence. I'll take smells out and I'll put in ed, smelled like roses. So here we have the exact same verb. So go ahead and underline smelled in both of those sentences. Okay, now take a look at those sentences and tell me which one you think is action and which one you think is linking. So is the first one action or is it linking? You need to ask yourself, could I see it happen? Tom smelled the roses. Yes, I could see Tom do this. So this is an action verb. Tom smelled like roses. This is a linking verb. It's linking Tom, the subject, to roses. Here's a little trick for this. If you could replace a verb with an equal sign, go ahead and write this out there to remind yourself. If you could replace a verb with an equal sign, chances are you're looking at a linking verb. Also, if you could replace the verb with the word is, was, or were, you're probably looking at a linking verb. So for example, Tom is like roses, or Tom was like roses, or they were like roses. Okay, so we're looking at a linking verb there. Tip number 3, I'm going to move the screen here. I'll put the last note at the top of the page. Every complete sentence will have a verb. Matter of fact, this one will have. Every complete sentence will have a verb. So let's write this down. When identifying parts of speech, always find the verb quickly. When identifying parts of speech, always find the verb quickly. It will always be here. And I will say always be there. Okay, I've already spoken before in past lessons about the best people at grammar do not look for rules to apply, they look for evidence for their reasons. So if you're going to be a detective and you know that every sentence has a verb, and you know that you're looking at a complete sentence, you know there has to be a verb. So start with what you know to figure out with what you don't know. Let's go to the number 4 here. Action verbs. Let's finish this sentence. Action verbs don't have to be active. Action verbs don't have to be active. I'll put that in quotes there. Action verbs don't have to be active. Okay, so it's easy to see like the verb hit in the sentence before because it's an action. I can see it happen and it's very active. But this is also an action verb. Sleep. Or how about this one? Think. Okay, and there are lots of others. But just because an action verb isn't actually active doesn't mean that it's a linking verb. Linking verbs link the subject to its predicate, while action verbs show what the subject is doing or has done. All right, that's going to finish it up for today. I'll see you at the next lesson.